Super Bowl rematch. The Kansas City Chiefs and San Francisco 49ers will meet again and play for the Lombardi Trophy.
Fan emotions in South Florida as the Heat took on the Knicks in the Garden.
And the Miami Marlins get the baseball season started in style with FanFest. All of this and more on the sideline.
Hello, South Florida, and welcome to the Sideline, the place where you get all the highlights for your South Florida teams. I'm Nicole Minot.
I'm Zeph Leon, and the sideline starts now.
A local esports center partnered with Sports Network to host a watch party for the Heat versus Knicks game this past weekend. Sideline's Pablo Hernandez has more with the story.
Rock Esports and the 5 Reasons Sports are collaborating on a watch party as the Miami Heat face off against the New York Knicks. Rock Esports is usually known for their gaming, but tonight it's all about the Heat.
Rock Esports is located in Palmetto Bay, and they're mostly known for their gaming and bar. Ever since they started collaborating with 5 Reasons Sports, they've been seeing an increase in people coming to visit.
John Ortiz overheard us talking about the Heat. So after we had our conversation, he came over, started to talk to us, and he's like, I got this esports place down in Palmetto Bay. You should come check it out. And that's how it happened. I think it's a good fit for our audience. I mean, you look at our audience, it's mostly kind of 18 to 39-year-old, 45-year-old men. They play video games. So it's been a good collaboration so far.
Whether it's just to come and watch the Heat game, or it's to compete in Super Smash Bros. Or in NBA 2K, everyone is welcome at Rock Esports.
Come here and I play Super Smash Melee pretty often. I compete here. I've competed here since it opened. Shout out to John, the owner. Shout out to Ethan, the GOAT. Worked with him for many years, at 5 Reasons when I was a part of that. So, two people, organizations I like a lot that, are collabing. And listen, I'm here for the watch party. I'm playing a tournament tonight at Melee, so, gotta love it.
If you want to find out about the next watch party between Rock Esports and 5 Reasons, check them out on Twitter at 5 Reasons Sports.
The Miami Heat come back to the Kaseya Center as they face off against the Phoenix Suns on Monday, January 29th. For Caplin News, this is Pablo Hernandez.
The Heat drop a 6th straight game after a loss on the road to the New York Knicks. The Knicks took care of business in the Garden, led by the performance of Jalen Brunson. Brunson scored 32 points and added 8 assists, finishing as the game's top scorer. New York took down Miami 125 to 109. The Heat are on their first 5+ game losing streak since 2021. Miami heads back home to face the Phoenix Suns tonight.
The Panthers won on Saturday at the Islanders in the close game. After a scoreless first period, both teams scored once to finish the second period tied. A similar dynamic went down in the third period as the Islanders came back once more and sent it overtime. Oliver Ekman-Larsson scored the winning goal to give the Panthers their 4th consecutive victory.
Las Vegas gets ready to host a Super Bowl 54 rematch following this weekend of conference championship games. The Chiefs and Ravens faced off in what was a defensive battle. Kansas City managed to force 3 turnovers while Baltimore's defense held Mahomes to 0 points in the second half. The Chiefs came out on top 17-10, and they will get a chance to defend last year's Super Bowl victory. The NFC title game was a different story as it turned out to be a high-scoring affair. It was all Lions in the first half as they dominated and headed into the third with a 24-7 lead. But the script flipped upside down as the Niners fought their way back into the game. San Francisco strung together 27 unanswered points to get the rally from behind win, 34-31. The Super Bowl matchup is set to kick off at 6:30 Sunday, February 11th.
Jannik Sinner became the first ever Italian male to win the Australian Open and did so down 2 sets to defeat Daniil Medvedev on Sunday. Sinner was fresh off a massive upset Thursday against the #1 ranked tennis player in the world, Novak Djokovic. Aryna Sabalenka defeated Qinwen Zheng in 2 sets, capturing her 2nd Australian Open victory in as many years.
Following the Dolphins' loss, they lost another big piece in Vic Fangio. We have our analyst, Carlton Gillespie, to tell us what that loss means. Carlton, can you tell us what losing strategists like Vic Fangio how that affects the Dolphins.
Yeah, well, guys, thanks for having me on. It seemed like a match made in heaven when Vic Fangio signed up. You had the offensive heavy coach in Mike McDaniels, and you get one of the most respected defensive coordinators in the league in Fangio. And he just kind of got off into a series of false starts this year, right? Injuries to Jalen Ramsey to start the season, and then Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb later on. So It feels like we never got to see a complete Fangio defense, and now he's on to Philadelphia.
Yeah. We saw that defense starting to pick up towards the latter half of the year, and now, you lose that guy. You got to see what you do to replace him.
Yeah, well, there's a couple different directions they could go, right? One is external. Former Chargers head coach Brandon Staley, who was always a defensive guy, is probably the leading outside candidate to get in. The Dolphins are actually going to meet with him sometime this week, so we'll see how that goes. And then internally, linebackers coach Anthony Campanelli is a very popular name with fans as well as players. He's super well respected. Yeah. And if you look at his track record, when he was at Boston College as their defensive backs coach, he won Assistant of the Year and produced a number of NFL-ready talents, and that secondary for the Dolphins was in dire straits last year, partially due to scheme, partially due to injury, but that's certainly an area that he could shore up. Yeah,
both of those guys you mentioned, I think they're great candidates, and Brandon Staley obviously, coach one of the Dolphins guys, one of the main pieces of that defense in Jalen Ramsey, and Ramsey had good things to say. Now let's jump into our biggest W and L segment. Carlton, why don't you start us off with your biggest W?
Yeah, my biggest W, it's pretty easy. It's the same as it was last week when I was here on the show. It's Swiftageddon. Taylor Swift has made it to the Super Bowl. Swifties everywhere get another week of playoff football. It was a great game against the Bills, and we've got one more week, 1,000 years of Taylor Swift.
She did it all by herself, right? Nicole, why don't you tell us your biggest W?
I would say my biggest W would have to be the Panthers, as they've had a 5-win streak, and also every single player involved in the overtime winner on Friday night was signed by Bill Zito in the offseason, so that would be my biggest W for sure. Yeah,
big additions to the team. My biggest W is going to have to be the Chiefs. This might be a basic choice, but the Mahomes era of football is very real. There's 6 straight AFC title games, all with him starting at quarterback. They've been to 4 out of the last 5 Super Bowls, and they have a chance to defend their crown. So the Chiefs are doing very well, and now let's jump to our biggest L. What do you think, Carlton?
Well, my biggest L this week is unfortunately going on to a man I greatly respect, Stephen A. Smith. On Stephen A. Smith's Stephen A. Smith show, aptly titled, he was asked to pick between the 3 starting Pokemon of the Kanto region, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, and Charmander, and Stephen A. Smith picked Charmander, which is the worst possible choice you can make. Charmander gets 0 type advantages, especially early on. The correct choice is obviously Bulbasaur. His grass type that can learn poison moves gets you advantage against Brock and Misty in the first 2 gyms. You're basically resistant to every other gym leader, and you get basic immunity for 2 of the 4 Elite 4. Plus, you can set up Toxic, Light Screen, and Reflect, which is so crucial for late game Pokemon, especially Generation 1. So, Stephen A. Smith, biggest L. It makes me think that if you didn't play the game, maybe you should shut up.
That's a puzzling decision there from Stephen A. And I'm glad that you're not just an expert on the Dolphins defensive coordinator decision. Can you tell us your biggest L, Nicole?
Yeah, I would say my biggest L would unfortunately be the Ravens. They had a so-so performance from Lamar Jackson, and I don't know, 8 penalties for 95 yards?
Yeah.
That wasn't the best.
They got to pick it up in that department. My biggest L is actually the loser in the other conference for the conference championship games. It's the Lions. They exceeded expectations, America's sweetheart team, but being up 24-7 at half and then allowing 27 unanswered points to let the Niners come from behind, that's a big blow to you. And I understand Lions fans, you haven't had much in years, so you're probably really happy with this, but that's a rough way to go. That's a rough way to exit the playoffs there. Well, with that being said, that's our biggest W's and L's segment. Here's what's next on the sideline.
Like meeting all these players, because these are guys you see on TV, and I'm also a big fan of the sport I played when I was a kid.
Fish Fest, the Miami Marlins bring fans together to celebrate the start of the baseball season, and we've got all the picks for what's ahead in South Florida sports. We'll take a quick time out and be back in a moment.
How do you know when you've made the right decision? It's the feeling you get in your gut. the one that tells you what's right or wrong. It's the one that says, sure, I can have a drink. Or the feeling that says, okay, I've been drinking. Now what? It's the voice inside you that says, I'm buzzed. Better leave the car when it's time to go. Plan ahead. Catch a sober ride. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
Every day,
millions of people are connecting.
And even though we're overcoming obstacles,
watching each other's backs,
and banding together,
we should still make an effort.
To get to know each other
on a deeper level. Father,
cosplayer,
mentor,
actor.
It's time we take a step forward.
Come together
and discover
how accepting our differences
can make us stronger.
With the Marlins having their best season in a while last year, fans were able to show their excitement on Friday.
As Caplin's Anthony Milian reports, Marlins fans will have a lot to cheer for in 2024.
The Miami Marlins are hosting their annual Fan Fest at Lone Depot Park. And after a year where they made the playoffs, the first time they did so in a full season since 2003, the hype here is real, and the Fish are prepared for next season, looking to build on their momentum.
The Miami Marlins Fan Fest event is an annual free event for all fans of the Miami Marlins to come and show their team pride, as well as have fun with some activities. It allows the Marlins to build a sense of community for their fans and have a great time promoting the new season.
And my favorite part about the whole thing is meeting all these players, because these are guys you see on TV, and I'm also a big fan of the sport I played when I was a kid. Just being here for me is just like an experience on its own.
My kids having a good time, meeting the players, getting autographs, playing outside.
After making the playoffs for the first time in a full season since 2003, fans' expectations for the Marlins are sky high, especially considering the superstar players they have like Luis Arraez, Sandy Alcantara, and Jake Berger.
The expectations is to win 78 to 82 games and be around 500. That was the expectation for last year when you came into opening day, and they overachieved. And we're going to do it again. That's the expectations. Continue growing, grow as players. They're only going to get better. Usually young guys don't get worse.
So seeing them get super aggressive towards the end of that deadline to make a run for that playoffs, I was like, this is what the Miami team I know they could be. It's like a team you shouldn't underestimate, in my opinion.
We got a young team. I like the guy that we brought in from Tampa, so I believe he'll bring good players to the team.
Despite the national narrative of the Marlins being that they don't have many fans, the Marlins are confident in this upcoming season, and the community of fans they have are excited to see what the Marlins throw out on the field next year.
With pitchers and catchers reporting on February 13th, the Fish season is right around the corner, and the fans are ready to come prepared for action. With Caplin News, I'm Anthony Milian.
South Florida's got a slate of important games this weekend. Some teams trying to bounce back from some L's. So why don't we start picking with the Miami Heat? Nicole, why don't you tell us how you think the Heat are going to do this week?
Well, they had Sunday off yesterday, so with the Suns, they lost to the Orlando Magic yesterday.
Yes.
It was 113-98, so not the best, but I don't know, maybe it can affect Booker's and Durant's performance today.
Yeah, I think you mean the Knicks, but the Heat, I'm not too sure how they're gonna do. I think they can take one of these games. They're trying to end the losing streak here, and they've not been playing well. Obviously, 6 straight losses, but I'm gonna have them beating the Suns. I actually think they're gonna bounce back in a big way, and I could see us losing against Sacramento and then taking the game against the Wizards. Let's jump to the other basketball game. University of Miami Hurricanes take on NC State. What do you think about that?
I mean, we've been doing good, so I think we're going to win this game too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the home team here as well. The Hurricanes have been playing well. They picked it up after that win against Notre Dame, so I'm going to pick them to take the W. Last, we're jumping in here into soccer. What do you think about Inter Miami traveling all the way over there to take on Al Nassr?
Well, they lost the last 2 games with Dallas and El Salvador, so hopefully they'll be able to win this match, but it's not looking too good as they've been undefeated all last year. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna unfortunately I'm gonna pick Al Nassr to win. I'm not too familiar with soccer, but I gotta go against you. I'm just gonna be the villain here and go against you on this one. Just a reminder that if you want to keep up with updates, fun segments, and more from our crew, you can follow our Instagram for all things Sideline. Follow us at sideline.caplin.
That's it for today. I'm Nicole Minot.
And I'm Zef Leon. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next week on the Sideline.